I mean, I'm telling you that when we're relying on the government and its wisdom to produce some sound policy, we we ended up with what we're having.
I was discussing this with a colleague of mine recently about the whole concept of vaccine ID cards, and I haven't had to show. It's interesting. You had to show a vaccine ID card to play a show in a club, right? And it's like,
Right.
I travel for work. I fly for work every once in a while. I spend some time in the airports, and where we were all worrying about, oh, they're going to start requiring a vaccine card in order to fly. And I was discussing this with one of my colleagues, and he was like, he thinks that, he thought that's just a great idea, excellent idea. Let's just, all those anti-vaxxers, let's just like ban them from traveling. And I said, well, what if they do that, and then they run out of the supplies for your booster shot? What if there's a supply chain problem with the booster shot? And of course, he didn't think, oh, that's even possible. No, that'll never happen. Even though we're having supply chain shit happening all over the place, all and totally unexpected areas. There's supply chain problems. It's entirely like feasible. What happens then? They require a vaccine to fly, to travel, or trade, but then all of a sudden you can't get a vaccine anymore. You're immediately in one of these like catch-22 situations, like you're just describing. Is like literally, that's like, what they've like created in Australia now with those regulations. And this is the kind of just self contradictory mess that occurs whenever governments assume total authority over the minutiae of human exchange. They're taking over markets. They're completely taking over what should have been a free market for healthcare, a free market for everything else that we need. It's being taken over and managed, and it's just immediately creating all of these problems and contradictions, which apparently some people don't see.
Well, let me ask you a different question. Well, it's the same question, but let's say that it's not a vaccine that is mandatory. What if it's something else? Remember Logan's Run, THX 1138,
Mm-hmm.
Soylent Green?
Mm-hmm.
For the greater good, you may
Yeah.
self eliminate yourself, or Soylent Green, it's people. I mean, come now you can see how you can come up with some idea and get the entire population screaming and yelling that you are not a patriot, you are not a humanist, you are killing lives if you don't go along with whatever idea that may be. So now, does it make sense what happened in Nazi Germany, in Soviet Union, in where was Cameroon? Cambodia,
Cambodia.
uh,
Yeah.
Mao Zedong in China? Do you see how easy it is to get people whipped into a frenzy that whoever is not going along with the agenda has to be eliminated?
Mm-hmm.
Eliminated from population, eliminated from social life, deprived um, ability to speak to a. I mean, speaking of which, we could be shut down any moment now and deplatformed. So be careful where you're sharing this video. And here we are,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
we're willingly going along with this. Maybe it's let I will let's be a devil advocate. Let's say that this is the greatest thing, this is the right thing to do. But even though it is the right thing to do, what we're giving up in the process is criminal,
Mm-hmm.
because today it's your freedom to choose whether or not to live or to die from this virus.
Mm-hmm.
What right to choose are you willing to give up tomorrow? Do you remember Kevorkian and his whole mission of giving people an option to choose to die with dignity?
Yep.
What happened to that?
It got banned in America,
Yeah,
anyhow.
well, that's my point. If you don't have, most of the people don't have the exposure. I worked in hospital. I worked in the oncology world. I saw people withering away. I remember this woman when I was in my internship. She had a bone cancer, and when I had to take her blood and for a test, I was a phlebotomist during my internship, and she had boils in her skin about this big, just because cancer coming through the bones into the skin. And you, I mean, I was shocked. She was such a strong spirit. She would cheer me up. She sees me like all going like, oh, I feel so sad. And she started making jokes and get my spirits up. Where I should have been the one who's supporting her, she was supporting me. And and one thing she was telling me, yeah, I have a dream to live long enough for my granddaughter's birthday. I don't know, it was first or third, doesn't matter. And I go like, so how long is that? Oh, just maybe 2 months. And that was an epiphany um, to me at the time of, the human spirit, no matter how things bleak may be, when you have a strong spirit, you are enjoying every moment that you have instead of bitching and moaning about things that you don't have. It's something that I should be more cognizant in my life and remember that every moment is precious. This conversation is precious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk,
Individual existence is precious. The ability to make a choice,
no,
about your existence, and like the woman you were just describing, right? So she made a choice. She's made a choice about how she's going to take the situation.
mhm,
Even when you're like in the worst, when life is giving you the worst conditions and dealt you the worst possible hand, you still have a personal individual choice about how you're going to react to it, how you're going to take the situation, and how you're going to roll with it. And from where I'm coming from, philosophically and spiritually and everything, it's like that right there is like one of the most fundamental important things about existence is that you exist as an individual, and your individuality is qualified by the fact that you can make choices about things, right? Like the concept of free will is validated by your ability to make decisions about even the most simple things. And when we throw that out the window, um, the only alternative to that is collectivism, right? Which is I think kind of where we're like moving in right now, like the whole concept of, if I think that I should be able to decide if I wear a mask, well, the collectivist response to that is, well, that's not good for everybody. You could be hurting other people, and that's the justification for a lot of these policies right now. But I mean, I would still come back and say, well, I'm sorry, no, the individual freedom is still more important. This is the same. Do you smoke?
not anymore.
Not
I
anymore. So
used to.
me, yeah, me too. I used to smoke. I used to be a big smoker, back when we first met, I was
Yeah.
smoking and everything. And I remember when when the anti-smoking thing like came out, right? It was like
right.
gradually, it's like, certain, well, New York City and San Francisco, they banned smoking. Where do they ban it? Well, in the bars and the clubs. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's, first of all, those are the same people that got destroyed with COVID. I'm just going to point that out. It's the first
Right.
social institutions that got destroyed as during smoking. And what people used to say is like, well, who cares? If I want to smoke, it's my decision if it's like not good for me, right? It's like, oh, no, it's not your decision because there's secondhand smoke. You're killing people. You're a child killer if you like smoke that cigarette. And once they got that narrative, that idea was out there, it was like bang, bang, bang. It happened everywhere. And now the whole world is like that. And the reason was collectivism. Still, there's no reason in the world why a private establishment, it's their private property, right? They bought that land, put up a bar. I want to have bands play there, whatever band I want to play there, and people can smoke. And you just have a sign out front. This is a smoking establishment. Why couldn't they do that? Certainly they could have, but collectivism won.
But
I don't smoke anymore. I'm over it. I don't smoke anymore, so I don't really give a shit anymore. But I just like to point out, the same thing has happened before. And I'm just pulling one example, but there's probably a billion examples where some ridiculous, just nonsensical change, which push through in society, which benefits some people. I mean, there's like an elite of big pharma and people who work in government that are benefiting really a lot from all of this COVID stuff at the expense of the people who used to own bars and restaurants and all those other, deplorable pursuits, wicked pursuits.
Yeah, but smoking pot is okay now.
Right, but that's okay.
But if you look at this collectivism thing, it's you get the collectivism survives on champions, creating I'm not going to qualify out of what whatever champions go like wiggling their finger, no. Can you see my finger? There you go. But if you look at it, kind of every instance of a collectivism, it's hijacked by a group of people with a self-serving agenda. So basically, all of the Karens actually working for somebody else without getting paid. But they're not pawns; they are activists. So. What can I tell you? I can tell you a lot. It's already been an hour us, stirring this pot.
No, that's a good point. And I wanted to ask you about the tape.
Oh.
The tape you said. I gotta grab it.
I know the tape you're talking about.
Right. So you sent me this tape. Let's see if I hold that up there.
Yeah.
This is the first Morphine Angel, or maybe the second Morphine Angel demo cassette, which Morphine Angel was my first band, like back in the 90s. And you somehow found this somewhere and sent it to me recently. Tell us where on earth you found this. I didn't know these even existed anywhere on earth anymore.
Well, that's an interesting story. So my brother is 13 years younger than me. And when he was growing up, and I already moved out. I think I moved to California at that time. He was a big skater. He was, he got a board, broken wrists, how the skaters do, And there was a skate shop about a block or so from our house, and he would go there and pick up tapes. And he knew that I was back then into goth music and all that stuff, and he picked up this tape, and he was telling me that he got this Morphine Angel. It's their fucking rock. Fortunately, all he could find, and I think in Kansas City at that time, a lot of cool stuff came from Chicago. So I think I'm just guessing that that's where this tape came from. But then on one of the trips home, he showed me this tape. I listened to it. I thought the name was phenomenal. Name is like Morphine Angel, is like nightshade. It's like two contradiction in terms.
Yeah.
But I was kind of getting it because there's so many people at that time, and I think now, I think it's human nature. When you get depressed and you see the oppressing reality surrounding you, you're looking for some way to alter reality and find yourself or build a world in which you can, if not live, tolerate. And from that respect, I just thought that the name was phenomenal. It was just great. And then I was listening to that and I go like, this shit is like, it's, like I said earlier, I mean, your shit was always awesome. This, I mean, I'm surprised that Morphin Angel is not as well known as Fields of Nephilim or the Bauhaus, or, this was that kind of um, stuff. Why Wax Trucks didn't pick you up back then? I mean, you definitely should. I I thought that you should have been on on those labels. And so years later, I came back, and my well, now my during the COVID, my parents getting old, they need some help, so I got here, and I was digging through the basement, clearing the junk that they accumulated that nobody uses, and I go like, and I found this tape, and I go like, well, they have a car with a tape player. I listened to that, sounded just as great, and I go like, I know the guy who would like to see this tape, so I sent it to him. But
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
I want for you to promise me that one of these days you created digital copies of these songs and put them like on the Bandcamp, so I can download them and put them in my rotation.
It's on my list. I'm gonna do something, man. I think I told you, like it says in the KLF manual, all bands end in bitterness, and Morphine
Yeah.
Angel is no exception to that rule. So I haven't talked to any of the other guys in many years, but I would love to get something like that out there again. It is a historical thing. I appreciate everything you said. You got it right on the money. Oh no, yeah, Bauhaus and Fields of Nephilim. That's what we were going for, and we also definitely thought Wax Trax should have signed us, or Cleopatra. Cleopatra was like the big goth label, at the time. But it's also getting
Yeah.
this tape back is such a like what a small world it is, because I met you originally only because I was like playing with Red Flag at the time.
Right. Right.
We played in Chicago. You came out
Hmm.
there. We talked there, and then I just stayed in touch ever since then. And it's like just because of like one thing that happened, it like connects you with like a much bigger world. And that's really one of the things that I always loved and still love about doing music is the way it connects you with other artists and visionaries, and makes your world a much bigger and better sounding place.
And see, this is what kind of pisses me off because I'm selfish. Um, that for the past 2 or more so years, I was not able to enjoy these kind of connections, making these kind of connections, and seeing these kind of people connections. And I feel that because I'm full admitted, because of my selfishness, I miss these kind of interactions and these influences that actually I think makes me better. And if I'm better, maybe I can do something that would make all of us better. Maybe I influence somebody too. And I think that's what we've been robbed of because of fear of unknown or death. And sometimes, give me a liberty or give me death. I, I'm not so sure that this is such an empty words. Uh, people telling me, but it's so dangerous, you're gonna die. Yes, I can die every day and leave my house. But is it going to stop me from living my life?
No, man. I mean, that's very, very well said. Very well said. And I agree 100%. I can't top that. You just hit the nail on the head.
No, thanks. I was going like, okay, this is a huge pause. What's next?
No, you blew me
Anyway,
away.
but it's true. Look at the statistics. How many people down highways in the United States? How many people lie down highways in every in the world? I think it's somewhere around 3 million. So statistics that I see of COVID, it's like it's child's play.
Oh yeah, I mean that's another thing. That's the other thing about COVID that we didn't get into is that it's like a 99% survival rate or 98% something, still like very good
I
survival
think
rate.
it's higher than that, and that's for unvaccinated. If you are vaccinated, it's 99.9 something percent
Right.
survival, and it's even not having um, any adverse reaction. And it's if you're vaccinated and you got COVID, which blows out of the water entire premise of somebody who is unvaccinated killing somebody who is vaccinated. But you are vaccinated, so why you're afraid of somebody who is unvaccinated? You should be cool. You got vaccinated to protect yourself from COVID.
Uh-huh.
So what are you afraid of? You have a better chances to get, into car accident or I don't know,
Yeah.
than get into the fist fight in the grocery store for a package of toilet paper.
Yeah. No, it
Then
is. It's the fear. It's like the have you ever seen that movie The Boy in the Bubble?
yeah,
It's like from the 70s. It was a made-for-TV
yeah.
movie with John Travolta. The kid grows up like in a plastic thing, and it's like you can't go outside because you'll die probably. But by the time he's like older and he spent his whole life in it, he realizes, well, there's a chance I'll be okay. They don't really know for sure. They just don't want to put me out there. So the end of the movie is like he finally leaves the bubble and he goes outside and he breathes the air and he's fine. And I don't know why. I keep thinking of this movie these days because of this fear that everyone has. There's so many people who are they're just terrified. They're really are afraid that they're going to get this disease and they're going to die. And I'm not going to tell them otherwise because everyone has to make their own decision. But I just have this image of like, at some point we're going to walk out. It's like walking out of the cave, like into the light and realizing there's not actually anything to be afraid of. It's like in medieval times when they told everyone in the world was convinced, oh no, there's demons like floating around and they're going to make you sick and they're going to lead you to temptation. And people were literally afraid of like all of the demons that are like floating around in the air until eventually somehow people like walked out of the darkness, of this ideology and saw there's not actually anything to be afraid of. Well, there's other things to be afraid of, but not fictitious things floating around in the air.
Actually, I'll post you something opposite. Is that us being isolating ourselves actually make us more susceptible to illnesses because we are not challenging our immune system by being outside with all these agent antigens hitting our immune system and making it stronger and
Yeah.
being active to fight all of the infections and so forth.
Well,
For example,
you're also not getting vitamin D. If you're not going outside, you're not getting vitamin D
like,
from the sun, which is
right,
also another vital thing.
right, which is supposed to be good for preventing COVID. But I tell you, when I was working in the lab for almost 10 years, around all of the specimens with sick people, all of the viruses, all the stuff, I hadn't had flu one time. I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
My and my immune system was responding to all of these antigens, and um, my serological test. If you do serological tests on people who are working in laboratories, that you will see that their antibody level is extremely high because they are constantly being challenged. So us right now living in the bubble actually makes weak. We actually, that bubble boy could have been a perfectly healthy individual, but he could walk outside and actually succumb to common cold like that. What was that movie? Day after, not day after.
The
What was that movie where aliens came here with those walkers and they died from common cold? Oh,
War
the
of the
day that
Worlds.
World of Worlds, so the
Yep.
day that the Earth stood still.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we actually can die like those aliens because we are not challenging ourselves. We're washing our hands with these alcohol sanitizers instead of letting our kids eating mud pipes.
Right. Nope, you're absolutely right. Well, good man. So, any final words?
Support your local artists. Go on Bandcamp, buy our albums, and hit me up for merch. Or
Yeah, definitely.
better yet, set up some shows. I'd love to go and play. I'll bring the merch.
Yeah, no, we got to get you to come down here in Houston and play. I think you'd have a good time.
I'd love to do that. I always dreamt to hit Texas, Houston, Dallas circuit, and I never had this chance. And uh, I mean, we just like what is it, cabin fever?
Mm-hmm.
We have a cabin fever, and we just need to get out. I'm itching to get out every day from
Yep.
this house arrest.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And Texas is a great place. It was Morphine Angel. We talk about Morphine Angel. It was a Morphine Angel tour through Texas that ended up leading to the chain of events, which made me move down here from up in your neighborhood, up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a wonderful place. And we'd
It's
love to have you down here.
I mean, as you said earlier, life is a wonderful, strange, and predictable thing, and because it's cascading, what is it, butterfly effect, that wings of a butterfly beating in one side of the world can, through chain of event, cause a tornado, tempest, tsunami in the other. So things like you and I meeting, God knows how many years ago, leading to this moment right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, hey, I want all of my listeners, you go check out Biocarbon13 and the new album Nightshade and all the other albums that they got there. It's on Spotify. It's on
It's on
iTunes.
Spotify, Bandcamp, all of your favorite and least favorite digital distribution platform.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and whatever you enjoy it, stream it, enjoy it, critique it, tell me how much you like it or hate it. I enjoy hearing everything, all of it from you.
Awesome. All right, Igor. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Talk to you later. Be
Okay,
safe.
later.
Bye.